Welcome back to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch, the show that fuels your business success. I'm Brandon Gano, your host and guide through the world of harmonious business growth. Today, we're unlocking powerful strategies with industry experts to help your business thrive. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or executive, you are in the right place. Join me and our incredible guests today on the journey to clarity, growth, and success. It is time to revolutionize your approach to business. Let's dive in with another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Welcome back into some more bite-sized business advice. And today we're going to be talking about letting go as a business owner of possibly everyone's two favorite words, optimization and efficiency. So if you already hate this episode, just put a hate comment down below. We'll respond in due time. But I want to bring on a guest today to talk about a different perspective of optimization and efficiency and why we need to let those go in order to grow our business and grow ourselves too. So before we go any further, Michael Gardon, welcome to the show and thank you for being here.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. I like how you're ginning up the hate response already. I promise I will try to gently guide people towards my point of view and hopefully not get too much hate mail.
Here's the thing though, if I don't stir the pot, who will, right?
Right.
So we just gotta brew those hate comments, leave them below. No, so one of the things about that in particular is, first of all, everybody has differing opinions on everything. Nobody's ever going to agree with everything we say. We got that part. Like we're adults here. We can handle it. But this is an interesting topic because those are two words that are commonly used both in corporate America all the way down to solopreneur. Into everyday life. I mean, you want to optimize the way you do things. You want to be more efficient. I'm really curious to hear your perspective because you're not just agreeing with like, oh, okay, big businesses. You're disagreeing potentially with everybody on the planet. So the floor is yours. I mean, how do you really feel about optimization and efficiency?
Sure. So I think we're taught at a very young age through culture, especially, I guess, in the West, I'm talking primarily about US, to be really productive, right? To do a good job, to do things efficiently, and then to have a ear and an eye towards optimization. And the problem that I have with that is that the world itself is kind of inherently uncertain. We are all on a growth path. We are changing what we want, what we don't want, our likes and dislikes. And in that circumstance, it's very hard to optimize for anything. In order to optimize, you have to know exactly what you want. And where this goes with business owners is especially business owners who are stuck or having issues growing, getting to the next level. Maybe it is they are burned out. They have this entrepreneur burnout. You have to step back and say, I don't have to do everything. Not everything has to be done in a productive, efficient manner. There are actually things that I probably should not be doing because they're not part of my leverage point at all. And so we need to, in that way, what happens is like, in order to figure out what you have to do correctly or what the right things are to do, you have to have a more experimental mindset and you have to sort of let go of standards for a bunch of other things. So for example, you're working on different marketing activities and you're not quite sure, which ones are going to work. Well, you also have a customer fulfillment process that really needs to be locked in. Like if you have to focus on marketing and growth, you as the business owner have to focus over there. You can't also focus 100% on that process. There has to be some give and take, and you maybe have to settle for 80% over here, right? Like just getting it done. Like done is better than perfect kind of mentality. And so doing the right things instead of doing things right is a leverage point. And I think you can take this all the way to the extreme of when you as the business owner really focus in and hone in and double and triple and quadruple down on what you do most effectively, your life is going to change because you start operating in your zone of genius and doing the things that you're just naturally good at and inclined to do. And you figure out who can do it, who can do the other things, or how we can get some of those things done, or we just let go of the need to have a perfect outcome in some of those other areas. your life changes. So I'm a big fan of effectiveness over efficiency and experimentation over sort of productivity at all costs. I think those are a default mindset, which we need to sort of break and reimagine.
I think first of all, I completely agree with you, and it's a brilliant take on the matter because it's this paradox, right? Like the more you try to be good, the more you try to improve things, and the more efficient you try to be, the less of those two things you become. On the flip side, like you're saying, the less you try and you just accept reality, you accept what is, the better you become, the more optimized you become at a certain task, or and the more efficient you become just from natural repetition and practice. So I guess it's not that you're particularly arguing against optimization and efficiency, that they're bad things. They're just not a good area of focus. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
So I think that they where becomes problematic is that I think in our culture they've been put up sort of as a badge of honor to
Mm,
be ends it like outcomes in and of themselves. I
right.
am a productive person. I do a great job. I am efficient at what I do. And if you look at like the best management minds, I mean, Elon Musk says this, Drucker says this. It's like the worst thing in the world is something that done with great efficiency that just should not be done, period. So that's the mindset that where I'm coming from. And I'll try to give another example. Like I primarily work with burned out corporate professionals who then want to create more freedom through building a business and becoming entrepreneurs. And the problem that I see with them all the time is they get on one path, they go to college, and I'm using quotes for anybody listening, go to college, get a job, and they are on a path. And then every other step along that path is an optimization of them for income, title, status. Okay. They're like optimized on this path and they become resistant to change. The further down the path you get, the more resistant to change they are. And then they come to a period where they are really stuck. Maybe they've got a couple kids, they're 40 years old, they're having this sort of midlife crisis. What is my life about? What is my purpose? And that's a really hard place to get out of because what they've realized is they've been optimizing for the wrong thing for 20 years of their life. And so that's kind of the perspective I want to take as a business owner. You know, you are trying to do everything. Can we create a little space, not be busy for busy's sake, but can we carve out some time to take a 30,000-foot view at the organization, our little one person business, no matter what it is, and ask ourselves really like, are we operating at our highest leverage points? Do I have to be spread or am I spreading myself too thin just because I think I'm supposed to be doing everything and be busy all the time, productive, efficient, all of those types of things. So I think that there's tremendous power in having slack to really think about the big critical levers in the business. And that's sort of what I'm arguing.
That makes complete sense. I love it. And I'm curious about that process too, because you said you work with people who are in corporate and they want to maybe transition to owning a business. Um, I think I think that cycle of being in something for a long time and then burning out is common both in corporate and in small business and entrepreneurship. Whether
Exactly.
you're a solopreneur, like you said, or you have a team of 6,000. I've seen it on both ends of the spectrum. So I'm curious about your process. Where do you start with people? Um, because I would really assume that it's the same if you're going from corporate to business or if you're just burned out in business. So where do you start with your clients to kind of get them on this track of setting up a successful business?
You're right. It is the exact same. So there's two forms of burnout. I'm just going to kind of bucket these loosely. On the corporate America side, you're doing too little of the things that light you up. That can lead to burnout. And on the entrepreneurial side, it's usually you're just doing too many things. So
But
in
still
either
too little of what lights you up, right?
yeah, but
Yeah.
you're just doing everything because you think you have to, or and maybe you do at that point in time. Either way, the first place to start is creating space. So, like, I work with people who have full time jobs and are VP executive type levels. We have to work to actually carve out space, put that job in a box, make it a utility, an investor in our future self. Okay. That's how we think about it. We keep that job, but we try to focus on outcome and not do all the extra crap that gets in the way. So we have time to actually focus on what we want to do. The second piece is to create a really compelling future vision. So as a business owner, let's say you carve out a little space to operate on the business instead of in the business. What is that compelling future for you? Maybe it's a ton of growth, but maybe it's just like, I want sanity here. I want to be able to control this much better and have a good life. Well, what does that feel like? What is that? What do I not want? Having that really compelling future vision that we are then working towards and also working backwards from. So when you have that, we start operating in the future. Okay, what would that person who has all of those things, how would they act? What would they do? How would they be bolder? What are the steps that they would take? And this comes from I think it's Andy Grove. Like, there's a great story from his Intel days of he was a really big challenge in the business, and he was meeting with his leadership team, and he was like, "Hey, if we got fired tomorrow, like and a new CEO came in, what would he do?" And the question or the answer immediately was like, get out of microprocessors. I might be butchering the story, but it was like, get out of this one business. And they were like, well, why don't we fire ourselves, walk right back in here and do that? And that was a way of him like sort of operating from a different perspective and coming to the right conclusion. So operate as future self. You need that tie to a future vision of you that is very compelling and very big. And then it's about crafting a business that is heart-centered and heart-aligned with you. So we go through a process that I created called advantage mapping, where we look at your life in 8 different dimensions, 8 different ways that I believe people create advantage from. And it's not just what are my skills and experience. It's like, what are the things that give me energy? What is it about my personality that likes some types of work over others? What are my interests and curiosities? Like, what are the things that I can stick with? And we try to create basically an intersection of you. So if you could think of like 8 different concentric circles, like how do all of these things come together in the middle? And that is like your advantage stack. And so then we start a design process of really ideating about what are the different types of businesses we could create that really leverage a huge part of your advantage stack, because that creates odds, like good odds that you are going to succeed. We can't guarantee anything. We know the stats about small businesses and entrepreneurship, but what we're looking at for is what are high odds paths we can take that are super aligned with who we are today, who we want to become in the future, and just do that instead of in the back of our mind thinking on paper and building spreadsheets about different ways that we could make $20 million, right, that aren't aligned here. We go from kind of heart out.
That's so valuable. And I've seen over and over when people start with money, revenue, profit, income, like it just fails. It doesn't work unless you're venture capital, which is fine. They have their place in the world. But as far as the people we're talking to on this show, like that process for sure is what more people need to do. I'm a little bit hung up though on that middle step there, because when you're working with people who have jobs, they're in corporate, and you say future self, think future self, that's easy, for lack of a better term, because you're planning your business, right? And you're starting with heart and impact, mission centered, and you're saying, okay, this is what I want to do, who I want to serve, how I want to do it. When you have a business though, it's one of those things where I think a great analogy is like trying to turn around a 15-foot boat versus a cruise ship. Like, you have momentum, you have customers, you have revenue, you have employees. You can't just say, like IBM did, get out of microprocessors. Maybe you can. I want you to argue me off this ledge, because obviously they did it. But if our only line of business as a small business owner is in one direction, we do this exercise and we realize we hate it. What's the best course of action, instead of just saying, I'm blowing up my business tomorrow and starting over and leaving 20 people unemployed, versus it's a slow calculated shift and we will get there in the next 6 to 12 months. How do you navigate that process?
Yeah. So I think originally when I was saying it, I was talking about like I was thinking about the overwhelmed business owner in terms of like what is the feeling they want to create, what is the problem that they need to solve. But what the example you pose, I would say it's almost the same, because with a corporate person, they have an income stream. It's a job, it's not a business, but it's an income stream that they hate and want to get out of. And what you described was a person who's created a business and maybe is burned out and hates it also. Okay. So we have to get into a space where we are working towards the future that we desire. Okay. So still having that compelling vision of what it is that you want, that who you want to be, how you want to feel, and what you want to do, like all of those things. When we have that, then we at least know the direction that we need to go, and we can start to brick by brick lay the foundation to get there. And step one might be, okay, like we need to solve some profitability problems here, and I got to buckle in and I got to really do operational things. But that is a stair step. It's not the end. It's a stair step to this future vision, because I know that if I do that, it's going to unlock time and freedom for me. I can pour that back in. I can reinvest that into what I want to do in the future. Then I can find the right who's to come in, take this business over. Maybe it's a sale, maybe it's whatever it might be, but I can figure out a way to get out of this. But I have to stay connected every day to that future vision. So what we don't do, we don't like create a vision statement and then throw it in, the the old dresser drawer. And that, like, we have a process we create habits and rituals to literally get connected to that thing every freaking day. So you build the feeling and connection to what you are driving after, because that is a huge importance to people. Because what we just lose touch with it. If we go through a one-time exercise and you lose touch with it, you're going to fail. But if you continue to update it, if you continue to visualize it, if you continue to connect to that vision and that person who is you down the road, then we can go through walls. We can drive through brick walls and obstacles to get there, because we know it's worth it. We've lived it. We're reciting it. And we're connected to it all the time.
That makes complete sense. I love that too. We do that with our clients in terms of mission and vision statements as companies. And we always start with asking people, what's your mission and vision? And they're like, hang on, let me go find it. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
you've already failed. Like, if you don't,
Right.
first of all, if you don't know it by heart and if you don't use it on a daily basis, it's meaningless.
Yeah.
So I love that you continue to tie people to their vision. And that's what pulls them forward. So real quick before I let you go, because this all sounds phenomenal. Can you give me an example of a client you've worked with? Because I'm sure so many people can relate to a story of someone who's burned out, whether it was in their job or their own business, and they were able to turn around and make that shift and actually build a compelling future that they love to be a part of, that is now their present. So do you have one that comes to mind, a favorite of yours?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few, but I'll say one. I had a stock analyst client who
I'm
was
already
just
burnt out just hearing their title.
yeah, exactly
So.
right, totally. Yeah, came to me and he was like, yeah, I've just completely lost me. Like, my identity is Mr. Wall Street. Like, I don't feel compelled to that. All this stuff. So we go through all of these exercises, advantage mapping, all this stuff. The guy is still super analytical. Really well written, loves deep research. So, like, those are things that he used in his previous job. But what he really needed and wanted was, much more upside, much more control, much more freedom for his family. So we ended up doing was going through this process and kind of coming to terms of, like, where can you provide sort of advisory services. We did like sort of three ideas, right? Like advisory services for small investment firms, you actually going full scale into real estate and passive income for yourself, or creating like a fund, like a real estate fund. He didn't want to do stock stuff at all. And he sort of pursued all three of those. And I have kind of a system for like how to pursue three paths at once, and then get rid of one, double down on another. So through a couple of months of experimentation, he figured out a way to partner with another person who had been in the real estate game. They created a fund and now are out on their own, sourcing real estate deals for themselves. And so he now has theoretically unlimited upside. He's raising money. He's got much more control over outcomes and time and freedom. So that's like sort of an adjacent type of a move. And then we've had people that have gone on to just create, go from sort of corporate consulting and being road warriors to coaching one-on-one project management folks through trainings and showing people how to create really, really good corporate type PowerPoint decks, but in non-corporate environments. So there's lots of different ways that you can build coaching business, consulting businesses, freelance businesses, whatever it might be. I'm sort of agnostic, and I'm also open to the idea that you create your self-directed freedom through another job. Actually, I think you can actually do that, provided it's one that you are very intentional about and checks all the boxes for you.
Yeah, that's a super cool way to look at it too. And I love those stories because those are the things I think people need to connect with, because we're all there at some point in
Yeah,
our business lives. We've all gotten lost, whether it's your own business, and it's been 5-10 years and you don't remember why you started it, or you found yourself
right.
stuck in a job. You've been there 40 years and you're like, well, now what?
Yeah.
So Michael, this has been awesome. Where can the listeners go and learn more about you and what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on LinkedIn all the time. You can just search me up, Michael Gardon, Gardon, or check out my newsletter. Go to michaelgardon.com/newsletter. You can find out all of my writings, and my thoughts on this topic and more. And hopefully you don't throw too much hate mail at me, but go there and check it out. I'd love to have you, and please ask any questions on LinkedIn or engage with me in any way that you want. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you for being here. That's awesome. I put those links down in the show notes wherever you're watching or listening. And hopefully we didn't get that many hate comments. I think you did a pretty good job of talking people off the ledge. Everything you said makes sense and is it's just true, unfortunately. So if people are going to argue with it, then they got nothing to argue with. But I can't let you go without asking you the final and most important question. And for us, it's we believe that powerful questions get powerful answers. So if someone finds themselves in this situation, they're either at or approaching some level of burnout, or maybe they hate the business or the job they've created for themselves, really, or they're in a corporate job and they want to get out, they want to make that change. What is a powerful question that they can ask themselves in order to get a powerful answer that will ultimately change their lives?
So first one that comes to mind is, what am I running from? Like, what is the exact pain that you are suffering that you are trying to escape? I think we fool ourselves a lot of times. So I like starting with that question. And then another one where you think you may know where you want to go. The question I ask is, what are you willing to give up to get there? Because that really examines trade-offs that we have to go through. And if we're really willing to make those trade-offs.
Wow, I got 2 for 1 today. Listen, you see that? You subscribe to this podcast, you get a double 2 for 1 question. Those are 2 questions I don't know if I want to answer. Those are heavy questions.
Yeah,
But I
they
like
are.
that. That's awesome. So yes, take some time, think about those, and see what the powerful answer is that you get from it. So thank you, Michael, for being here, and thank you for you listening, watching, wherever you are. Make sure you subscribe. We want to continue to bring these episodes to you every single day of the week to help you get out of that rut you find yourselves in business, get to the next level, and ultimately build a harmonious business and life. That's what we're here for. We'll see you on the next episode of Harmonious at Lunch.